Imagine feeling unsafe and uncomfortable in your own classroom because yesterday there was a physical fight right in front of you. Imagine trying to learn in the classroom where disruptive behavior is the norm. This is some of what our students go through and their emotions and reservations going to school each day. If you don't think that is true of what teachers and students are going through every day in some of our schools, then you're disconnected. Teaching and learning has taken a back seat to controlling behaviors. I don't care. Send me to the principal. They can't do anything. In most instances, this student mantra has become true. Teachers have no authority. Some administrators claim that Johnny is just having a bad day. Consequences need to make an entrance into our schools. We care so much about the SEL of our toughest kids, but forget about all the other kids. I'm not someone who doesn't understand. I've been an educator for 18 years, 14 of which were in the Waterbury public school system, and I understand the latitude of what students get away with today. I have stories from my 14 years in Waterbury that most people would be shaken by. The sad thing though, those things are starting to occur here. Good parents and caring teachers in the community communicate with one another. We hear stories, and teachers need our help, and our students deserve it. Let's be honest, unruly behavior has become the norm. They control the parents, they control the teachers, these students, and any authority figure they interact with. They have mastered Pavlov's classical conditioning. They behave poorly to get attention, and they get it. So what can we do? We can take control of our classroom. I developed a plan in Waterbury called the Respect Paradigm. This plan never came to fruition. Administrators and higher up just pushed it aside, just like they did with the behaviors. And if you'd like to hear more about that plan, I can tell you afterwards, after I speak here. One integral part of that plan, that paradigm, involves getting all stakeholders involved. The parent, the teacher, the counselor, the administrator, and yes, the superintendent as well. Stakeholders, other than the teacher, they don't understand what it's like until they're in the classroom every single day. Furthermore, I would suggest one first step. Maybe this new board, send out an anonymous survey to some of our teachers in the district, maybe starting with 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. Our lack of discipline in our schools and our society have pushed families out of this community. If all the good families leave, move, or choose to educate their children somewhere else, is our community really diverse? We may not be able to control students' at-home behavior, but we can implement some no-nonsense policies to demand it in our classrooms. We need to make all stakeholders responsible. Let us not forget those students who do behave and want to learn and want to feel safe. Once again, the conversation isn't about them and the positive things that they bring to a classroom. Should they be subjected to these disruptions to learning on a daily basis? Should we ignore them because others have conditioned us to pay more attention to the students with behavioral needs? I look forward to a conversation with this board and Mr. Montini about the actions moving forward. I have 2 well-behaved students in this district. My daughters and others of well-behaved students deserve an environment where they can be uninterrupted in their teaching and learning. We are all talking in this district, parents. We know what is going on. It needs to be addressed. Please don't push away and let down the families who truly care. By turning a blind eye, we are doing a disservice to all of our children in this community. Our school system needs to do better. I look forward to what action this board is going to take. I will gladly offer my services and be a part of those stakeholders in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If anyone else has public comment, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Dorothy Nethkuden, 40 Donovan Court. I'm just here really to say congratulations really weird sitting on this side of the table. Good luck to your endeavors as you take on apparently a lot of new challenges that are going to be before you. So congratulations to all.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you. If anyone else has public comment, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Mary Newms, 10 Cardinal Lane. So I wanted to address some things that concern me that were brought up before the new board was voted in and whatnot. So I'm just going to speak candidly about how I feel. I'm the mother of 2 children in our district, and I also work as a paraeducator in the district as well. The first concern I want to talk about is the mask mandate. I get it, people don't like masks and they don't want to wear them anymore, but please allow me to tell you a little bit about why I feel that the masks are working. My youngest daughter, who is now in 4th grade, was born prematurely at 36 weeks. At 6 weeks old, we made our first trip to Yale because she was sick. She was quarantined for a week due to RSV. This weakened her lungs and respiratory system and made her susceptible to other illnesses. That was the first of 22 trips to Yale in her first year of life, followed by 17 trips in year 2 and 13 to 16 trips per year in the years to follow. When COVID first hit, I was fearful of what this virus could do to her. We took all of the precautions seriously, and by doing so, she hasn't been sick, and even more importantly, she hasn't been to the hospital in the past 2 years. The masks are working to protect her. I can't imagine what would happen if we unmasked all of our children in school. Luckily, both of my children were vaccinated this evening here at the high school, so we're one step closer to normalcy. I would like to thank the district for organizing that vaccination clinic and making it easy for the parents who choose to vaccinate. My other concern is the damage that will be done if we stop focusing on equity. As an educator in one of our schools, I see firsthand the effects of equity, and it's not just black and white. Every child has different needs, and we should be focusing on meeting those needs. What may work for one child may not work for another. I work with students daily that need different tools and strategies to achieve their academic growth. Equity is important for the health and well-being of all of our students in the district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone else has public comment, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Paul Singley, 34 Woodside Drive, Naugatuck. Congratulations to the new board members. 2 things that I wanted to bring up, and I wasn't going to speak here, but Andrew and Mary both, I don't know, they inspired me. So the first thing is I teach at a high school in an inner city, and we have a number of fights, unfortunately. And I hate to see that kind of thing happen in our hometown where it's not acceptable anywhere, but we're hearing more and more about it here. And I'd like to see the board try to take proactive measures to try to stop that. I don't think that we need to arrest every kid because I understand the school to prison pipeline philosophy. I do think that restorative practices need to be implemented to a greater degree. And also maybe looking at beefed up security teams for some of the high schools. For some of the schools, particularly the middle school. So that would be a start. And then also, just to piggyback on what Mary said, I think we need to listen to the health guidelines before we make any serious discussions or decisions about unmasking our kids. So thank you very much for your service. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if anyone else has public comment, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Vanessa Val, and I live at 163 Cliff Street. Oh. Again. My name is Vanessa Val. I live at 163 Cliff Street in Naugatuck. And I do want to say that I am a parent of a Naugatuck High School student in his junior year. And I want to thank everyone on the board for serving, for your commitment, because what you do is very, very important for our children and our community. So I want to say that first, especially most of you are volunteering your time, and it can probably feel like a thankless job sometimes, and just want you to know that it's appreciated. the effort that you're putting in for our children. I did feel compelled to talk tonight because I did also want to talk about how important for our family and for many families, we've waited a long time to see diversity, equity, and inclusion, given they're due in the school system. And we're very encouraged that there is now finally a focus on creating a school culture and ultimately a borough culture that respects and understands and recognizes and celebrates human diversity in very deliberate ways and meets the very needs of all of our students. And so the positive impact on our children's self-image and increased opportunities for them now and in the future are so important. So I just urge the board to please work together to ensure that our children do receive the best education possible and that important initiatives like diversity, equity, inclusion continue and grow because our children's future absolutely depend on it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cynthia Broder, 131 Park Avenue in Naugatuck. I'm here for the same reason many others are here. I am concerned, and I really think your priority needs to be the safety in our schools. We're not just losing the education for a minute or two or a few minutes. It's hours and hours and hours of instruction that's lost because teachers have to stop what they're doing to intervene if they can. Their hands are tied and the kids are out of control. And it's not even just affecting the students. It's affecting staffing. I looked at the board minutes. I look at the agenda for today, and all I'm seeing is resignation after resignation. People leaving, going to inner city to teach because they don't want to be here anymore. And that's scary. I'm an educator. I have been an educator for 30 years. And you can't lose valuable staff. I've had 2 children that have gone through this system. I have one that's a senior right now who laughed when I said, when she actually read it with me. We keep her informed of what's going on in town. And when she saw that the code drills was something being discussed, she said to me, just going over those is going to take an hour, Mom, because there's so many. This is unacceptable and something has to be done. It should be all hands on deck and everyone should be involved in this. And we need to see our leaders in this building, not just staff and the administration that's in charge.
Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone else has public comment, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Vanessa. Hi, my name is Vanessa Van Horn. I live at 453 Mulberry Street. Is this on? It's funny that we have to keep touching it, you know, like there's nothing to clean it with. That's weird. Okay, so I live at 453 Mulberry Street. I do have something that I wanted to submit to the Secretary of the Board, which I just wrote Secretary of the Board because I didn't know it would be Ethel Grant. So, and I do have a copy for Mr. Montini of something that I would, was requesting to have added to a future board meeting. So I don't know who I give that to or who would take that, but I have that here. I'm here.
You can
What's that?
bring that up to me, man.
Up to you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so when I'm done, I'll bring that up to you. So I also just want to congratulate all the new members here tonight, and I do thank you for the job that you do. I don't think it's an easy one. I am here about my daughter. She was on bus 25, which just recently, November 3rd, I got a call that there were kids who had COVID on her bus, and so they said that they had to do contact tracing, And they finally got back to me and said that she would have to stay home until November 15th, and that was if she tested negative. But we had to wait till November 10th because she's not vaccinated. So they said if she was vaccinated, that she could go back to school, but she would need to bring her vaccine card and that it would be copied and a copy would be held at the school. So it really bothers me for a few reasons, but one of them is the fact that, vaccinated people, it's proven they can get COVID and they can give COVID. And so if you have a close contact with somebody with COVID, and you're telling me that they could go right back into school, into the general population, that says to me that this is not really about safety, because if this was truly about safety, even though I understand that it's, they have a lesser chance of getting it or giving it to somebody, but there's still a chance. So why would you be putting those children back into the school population? I feel like it's creating a privileged class of children. I don't feel like it's fair or equitable that, we talk about privilege and equity, but I don't feel like this is equitable at all. She has to stay home along with many other children, actually, and they're not getting live instruction. So it's like they're being penalized for not having a vaccine. The other kids who do, they can go, but she has to stay home and she has to do her assignments that are given to her online and with no, instruction. And I feel that that's appalling. I mean, I feel like you should at least have a protocol in place for these kids that you're forcing to stay home, which I'm fine with that. She can stay home, we'll test, but you don't have any education in that time period. So I'm here to just ask that you would implement a more sensible protocol for the kids who have to stay home. And also about the governor's, I forget what the name of it is, stay and safe, stay and speak, I forget what it is, but it's about, a more common sense approach to keeping kids in school. Because she has her mask on all the time. She had her mask on the entire time on the bus. All the kids have their mask on. And so I guess his new approach is something about, trying to keep the kids in school that are masked, even if there's close contact, as long as they're asymptomatic. And I do agree with that. We need to be keeping kids in school as much as possible. And, not really allowing a privileged class of children to be able to go and others not be able to go. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will then, if there is any other public comment, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Jackie Flynn, 76 Nichols Road, Naugatuck. I don't really have anything prepared, but I just want to say that, well, welcome to all the new members, and thank you for putting yourselves out there and for giving maybe a voice of people that don't necessarily have a voice. Is this working? I can't tell. Okay. I don't really have anything prepared. I don't really have any skin in the game as my senior is about to graduate this year. But I do live in this town and I do see a lot of children and hear a lot of complaints from people in my practice. I have a business in town. And, the things that Vanessa touched upon is just this whole privileged class. And I have to agree, it's really, really concerning. And I saw this coming, years away. I was up here talking about us losing our religious exemption a couple of years ago, and I got nothing from anyone. I pleaded my heart out, and nobody in the town, nobody on this board stuck up, even really answered me, and we lost our religious exemption, and that was our right to say that we did not we had a religious belief against some or all vaccines, and that would go for COVID as well. And many children in this town, lost that right because they weren't grandfathered in. I was fortunate in that capacity. But I am worried about the future of this particular vaccine, and the fact that we have vaccine clinics, that was today, on our school property is just appalling to me. I just don't understand why medicine is being mixed with our education. I just think it's in the parents' best interest to make those decisions by themselves. I don't think the education system should be involved in that at all. That's my personal opinion. I'm really against it. I don't like teachers talking about it. I've heard all sorts of things, people promoting it in this way, that way. As we know, there's lots of different views on this, and I'm not going to get into it, but as Vanessa touched upon, you can get COVID, you can pass COVID with this vaccine. So I don't understand why there's such a push for it, for our staff that we're losing, as someone else touched upon it, and for our children to possibly be segregated and discriminated against. There's also a push for the indoor sports for kids that now are getting the vaccine. They don't have to wear the mask when they play indoor sports, and the kids that don't have it do. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. It just puts more pressure on families, on children, parents pleading with their children. I mean, it cuts across so many borders that are just, it's hard enough to be a parent right now. And I think that the kids are really suffering from this discrimination, and I would just hate to see it go further. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. I don't know, I got here late, so I don't want to reiterate what other people said, but I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone else has public comment, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. And one last call for public comment. Seeing none, we'll then move into the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. So it gives me great pleasure to ask Mrs. LaChance to come on up to the podium. Or wherever you're going, it's all good. It's- Yeah, no pressure at all. So, we have Andrew Avenue. You probably can tell, we have some staff members in the house. Mrs. Connolly and myself are going to share with you a presentation. As you know, Andrew Avenue was recently awarded what basically is one of the most, if not the prestigious awards, but one of the most, if not the most prestigious award for public or just in education in general. They were awarded the 2021 National Blue Ribbon Award and there's two categories for that: high performance and exemplary achievement gap closing. We announced this to you early on when the announcement came on in, I would say, mid-September-ish, yes. But we just had the ceremony in Washington, D.C., put together a presentation that Mrs. LaChance and her team will share with you. And I'm actually starting, right, Mrs. LaChance?
I think we're starting with the picture.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a little bit hard to see because of the lights, but
Yep,
so this is a picture of Andrew Avenue staff and teachers, and the students have a very important job back there. It says AAES, Blue Ribbon School, 2021. So this picture we blew up and carried it with us throughout our trip to Washington, D.C. So it really was important to us. Ms. Connolly is here. Sorry.
One second. Devin, turn the one that behind, I'm the one behind Devin, the one that you just did. Let's turn that one off.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yep, like that. Yep. Sorry, guys, there's a million light switches and.
So it was really important to us that we brought our staff with us we could only bring 3 people, Superintendent Montini, myself, and the teacher representative, Ms. Connolly. She's a 4th grade teacher at Andrew Avenue. But it was an award for all the teachers and all of the students and their hard work at Andrew Avenue. So we had this picture taken with all of our students and took it with us wherever we went. So I have some presents for you, or a present for you, which is the teacher. But I wanted to say something quick because I last minute addition. Mr. Montini, when we announced in September, he talked to the students about the recipes for success. He talked to the students and the teachers about the recipe for success. Well, what is it about? What were you doing that created this this growth in the exemplary achievement? So today, the teachers wrote down their recipes for success. So I just wanted to share it with you guys so that you can see, and you can see really the themes that are emerging are like communication, teamwork and relationships. It's all for the kids. So I just wanted to share this with you. And then Mr. Montini, you can go and I'll pass them. I need these back.
You need them back. Oh, Indian giver.
So one of the things that you'll see is that on each slide of the presentation, you're going to see a picture of the students. And not just the students and the staff. And I don't know if you can tell, but you have Andrew Avenue Blue Ribbon 2021, Blue Ribbon School being held up in balloons, and you have all of the students making the blue ribbon themselves. And if you know anything about the primary book, sort of Flat Stanley, where Flat Stanley sort of goes on this travels, that's essentially the theme of this presentation. That at the heart of everything that Andrew Avenue do to be well-deserved of this accomplishment are the students, the faculty, the staff, and the families. And today, as a Naugatuck community, we come together to celebrate their accomplishment because their accomplishment is our accomplishment. We are one Naugatuck. We are a school system, not a system of schools. And we're incredibly proud of our teachers and of our students and of our staff. Because this is a great accomplishment. We've never had this. I've been here 24 years, 23 years. Went to these schools. This is our first, and this is a big deal. 325 schools from 45 states, including some of the military academies. 4 of those schools came from Connecticut. We were one of 4. So we're going to share with you a little bit about their recipe for success, how they earned the blue ribbon, certainly, and we're going to celebrate with them along the way. So we're going to start with the Andrew Avenue's demographics. What they're, how are they constituted essentially? And you could see that Andrew Avenue is very diverse. They're 53% white and also and 47 non, with 9.1 Black or African American, 35 Hispanic or Latino. You can also see from a socioeconomic standpoint that Andrew Avenue is typically among the highest in regards to those who are qualified for free or reduced lunch. Despite our district being a CEP, you already know that we engage in the CEP program and provide free lunch everywhere. They have a very high eligibility. 13% of the students are English language learners, and 13% of students receive special education services and support. And Flat Stanley, the picture of the students down in the lower right-hand corner. And in the left, you'll see that this was based on our October 1, 2020 data. We track data from October to October, PSIS, across years. And so on the next slide, and this slide sort of started when a local reporter was asking me for some data, if this looks familiar. So what you have here is a cut and paste of the accountability report. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll see that Andrew Avenue is a school of distinction. That's a separate category, but they've been a school of distinction. Let me just see here. 1 second. All right, and they're a school of distinction for high growth and the high needs in math. That's a separate sort of category. That's a local state as opposed to a federal national blue ribbon. So there's a lot of data points on here. But what it means in regards to an achievement gap is there's achievement gaps exist throughout our country. And if you take a look at the two yellow highlighted rows, that's the academic growth of all students compared to the academic growth of students who are in the high needs category, which means they have an IEP for special services, they're an English language learner, or they are, they qualify for free and reduced function or in regards to socioeconomics. So you'll see that the growth of all students in 1819, the accountability report, the last one that was used for these purposes, was 77%. You'll see that the high needs was 70%. So there's a 7% difference there where yes, all students did perform better. But if you track all the way over to the right, you'll see that Andrew Avenue way outperformed the state, who was 59.9 and 55% respectively. And then if you go and you look at the green rows, you'll see the same for math. You'll see 83.6% for all students, and then you'll see the high need students outperform all students at 84.2. And if you go ahead and take a look again all the way to the right, when you look at the state averages, 62 and 55, Andrew Avenue much higher, and there's a gap. Well, they don't have a gap, they actually outperformed, and obviously the state has a gap of about 7. But if you also look at the first few rows where you see I have sort of the bracket, where I bracket the scores, you see the performance of all students, and Andrew Avenue's scores were 68 and 64. 68 in regards to the index rate for performance, right? So this is the levels of achievement. High needs was 64. So that's a difference of 5. If you go all the way over to the right in the state average, the difference is 13. Same with math. You'll see about a 6-point difference between, and you'll see a 14-point difference between. So Andrew Avenue, you will see in their presentation, equity, providing students what they need, supporting each and every student has been the mantra for a number of years there. And I think that you see that it's paying dividends when they say all, they mean all. And it's really just a pleasure and a joy to be in the school and walking through the school. So that's a little bit about the data. I'm going to stop talking now and let you hear from the real stars, the people that do the work and serve our students each and every day.
Okay, so I'm going to just walk you through some of the things that were housed in the application. Really getting at, looking at the past data is what kind of got us recognized, and then our current practices really solidified that, we're on the right path and we're doing the right thing through this very difficult time. So, one of the categories was the curriculum and instruction, and our philosophy is access for all. So it was one of the categories in the core curriculum. Naugatuck Public Schools identifies priorities in the teaching and learning handbook. It's not just Andrew Avenue. So that looking at that it's aligned with our district, and it made it really easy because that's what we do across all schools in Naugatuck. In the other curriculum areas, if you look, we're really aligned with the district, and I'm really proud to say that. And I'm really, really, even prouder that it's Andrew Avenue, but it could be any school in our district. So we have our special areas, art, music, PE, library, media, and computer literacy, our academic supports. We make all of our decisions based on data, our multi-tiered systems of support, our special education programs, and our English language learner programs. You'll learn about the breaths in a second. My staff's here to support you. So our strategies for academic success are district-wide social and emotional philosophies through Ruler. Each classroom has a class charter. We take meta moments like I just did a moment ago. Every morning we take a meta moment. We talk about what our best self looks like. We want students to start their day thinking about what that is. If they're not in the right space, how can they get there? How can they be the best place for learning every day? And we have supportive strategies for all learners. We're very imaginative with our strategies. Each learner is different. We get together, we communicate with each other, and we make sure all students are successful. And we include their voice and their choice. So another part of the application was talking about school climate and culture. It's really saying the same things with the ruler in our SEL support. That is at the center of everything we do, especially through COVID. We really take that into consideration for everything. It's embedded in our curriculum and throughout our school day. We have a very comprehensive PBIS program, which is our Super Scholar program. That language is universal throughout the school. Students know what our behavior expectations are and what they look like and how they can change that behavior so they could get through their day with those expectations. We have engaging families and community. Communicating with families, Parent Square has been great for us. We're communicating more now than ever with our families and really meeting them where they're at. And we go through that with compassion and empathy. Our families are going through a lot. Our teachers are going through a lot. Our students are going through a lot. So we have to just meet them where they're at. And then we're creating a professional culture of communication, flexibility, support, and professional development opportunities. The other part is school leadership. You presented on acceleration?
Not to the board.
Okay, so it's using acceleration as a strategy and collaboration. So acceleration, we're moving forward and supporting students so that they get the best tier 1 classroom instruction as possible. In our culturally responsive teaching and learning, so important. Our culture for equitable learning is not just in Andrew, but across the district. So this is the fun part. This is Ms. Connolly and Mr. Montini and I at the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center in Maryland. It's in the National Harbor. And this is where the ceremony was. And here we brought our flat Stanley picture of our staff and our students. Throughout the time we were there we came in on Wednesday late, so we were there on Thursday, we were there on Friday. We had a lot of professional development opportunities and to collaborate with all of the educators that were there with us. So if you could imagine 325 schools and each school could bring 3 people. So there was almost 1,000 people, educators there to collaborate with. So we were able to hear Juliana Erdebe. She is the National Teacher of the Year. She was the keynote speaker. She's a special education teacher from Las Vegas, Nevada. It was really interesting to hear her philosophies, her teaching practices, what she's doing across the country. That's very similar to what we're doing here. We also heard, we heard from Christopher Willard. He spoke about mindful resilience, self-compassion, and post-traumatic growth, which really aligns with our meta moment and our SEL practices in school. So he wrote this book. It's called Alpha Breaths. And I really encourage people to look up, he has written over 20 books, but we have incorporated this practice into our meta moment every morning at Andrew Avenue. So we're gonna start with the alligator breath today. We want to do it with me and eat it. Ready, Andrew Avenue? So our students, I teach them how to do it. Open up, breathe in. And then breathe out and close the alligator. It just, I needed that. And then we teach them the smaller alligator too throughout the day that they can use just to remember to use that breath, right? To when they're experiencing a little bit of difficulty, use that breath. On Friday, we went to, we split up, we divided and conquered. So the next 3 bullets, there were 3 different conferences going on. So Ms. Connolly went to community schools. They talked about school improvement and student success. I went to designing high quality education for multilingual learners and learned a lot. I reached out to Caroline and we collaborated. And then Mr. Montini went to the relationships, which focused on mentoring. And then lastly, we got to hear leadership's perspective. It was principals who earned the Bell Award, and they were able to share their practices with us. Okay, so here's the ceremony. And what was very touching was that the ceremony was streamed live, and students at Andrew Avenue were able to watch it. And one student came up to me today and said, "Were you really on TV?" That's me. So we had a great time at the conference, going up on stage and receiving the award, bringing everybody with us. We brought everybody with us, carried that around everywhere. On Friday night, we had Mrs. Connolly and I had the opportunity, after everything was over, we were able to sneak out and do a night tour of the monuments. And we're so happy that we took advantage of that opportunity. So we again brought the kids with us and the staff, but I'd like Mrs. Connolly to read this quote.
So injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We're caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. And it's amazing how timely that is when you're reading things like this and you're seeing the different monuments that are so meaningful to our country. You're standing there just feeling it. It's utterly amazing. And I was proud to carry that Andrew Avenue picture the whole time. But I just kept growing prouder and prouder of everybody and all of their hard work. And I think that we really we have a lot of love for what we do. So it got misty a few times while I'm reading these things, like, I can't believe I'm here with my kids. You know? So it was wonderful. Yeah.
Awesome.
So here is the FDR monument, and our kids are here. He's holding all of our kids. And we want to read another quote that in that monument, you kind of walk down, and there's big walls with quotes everywhere. And Jen and I were just taking it all in and thinking, just really reflecting on those words and thinking how relevant it is to our work and what we do every day.
So the test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much, it's whether we provide enough for those who have too little. And it's, again, amazing. The words are so powerful. They're powerful back then. They're powerful now. So again, you just get that. I just kept getting this feeling of awe. Every time I was like, whoa, and then walking the next one, whoa. And again, bringing everybody with us, it was more meaningful than I can tell you by a poster that's on a statue. And then underneath, I never forget that I live in a house owned by all the American people, and that I have been given their trust, and that's what FDR said. So I sort of feel similarly in that I've been given people's trust, and that I take that to heart, and I think that we all do, and work our best for the children.
I'm sorry, that was really nice.
Here are 3 letters that we have received throughout kind of our experience from September when the announcement was made until now. The first one is from Joe Biden. We received that at the ceremony or at the conference. The second one is from Miguel Cardona, although we didn't have an opportunity to meet him. A little bit disappointing, but we received this letter. And then the third one I just received the other day from Rosa DeLaura. So it was pretty exciting.
The letters are posted in Board Docs, at least 2 of them are. We'll get the third too, so it'll be easier for you to read outside the presentation should you choose. Same with the public, they can go on and read them from Board Docs.
And here I brought so we have the official citation that was sent to us, of course, with our staff and students in the center. And I brought the Very nice. I look forward to it.
Andrew Avenue staff, if you're here, please stand up. Yeah. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for the work that you do every day. Your work is hard. It's harder now in the midst of a pandemic. It's all that much more, it's important every day, and it's even more important now. Thank you. You make magic, you change lives, and you're making a difference. So I feel blessed to be your colleague and your superintendent. And I look forward to continuing to work with you to get better and better and better. And we're going to be, unless another Naugatuck school beats you, we're going to work to get back and be a Blue Ribbon school again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. LaChance, and Ms. Conlon, and thank you to the teachers and the staff at Andrew Avenue. It's an amazing accomplishment, and we are so very proud of you and are thankful for you. Thank you. Okay, so then we will move on to our monthly reports. Our first report is our student rep report, and I'll turn it over to Josephine and Kenton.
So students at Naugatuck High School have just completed their first quarter of the 2021 to 2022 school year.
I'm just going to talk a little bit about clubs and what they've been doing. Our clubs have been continuing to host meetings and work on projects throughout the first quarter. Some projects that they've been working on are student council hosted a Halloween costume contest. GSA hosted a pumpkin decorating contest. NHS Sunrise hosted a climate week in order to raise school awareness on climate action. The Black Student Union is planning a basketball tournament fundraiser, and Diversify is submitting entries on Native American culture to be read on the announcements in honor of November being Native American Culture Month.
Thank you, Josephine. And also, as part of our mission to include and expand representation on the Board of Ed, we have expanded student representation to 4 other schools, including Naugatuck intermediate and middle schools, and we want to help represent the younger students learning there, and this will be a great opportunity to gain a wider scope of feedback on student life at all grade levels. And the student liaisons have begun meeting with their student leaders, and we hope to have reports from them before the next meeting.
Awesome. Thank you both. We'll then move on to our facility use report. Are there any questions on the facility use report? Seeing none, we'll move on to the human resources report. Are there any questions on the human resources report?
Chairman,
Yes.
I have a couple questions from the personnel report.
Okay.
So while going over the report myself, I noticed that we have discrepancy. The JV and freshman basketball teams stipends are exactly the same for boys and girls, but the varsity girls receive $428 less than a stipend than the varsity boys basketball team. I wanted to point that out. I don't know if that is an error or because the team is smaller or larger, or if someone can speak to that.
Yes, that is not an error. What the problem is there is that the girls varsity basketball coach is in his second year. The boys varsity coach is in more than 3 years. We have 3 steps for the coaches. So the boys varsity coach is at the top step, girls varsity coach is at the second step. Next year, you'll see the report that they'll both be earning the same amount.
Further down in the report, I saw the same discrepancy in the indoor track. Has 2 different stipends for the 2 different track coaches as the same.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move into the enrollment report. Any questions on the enrollment report? Seeing none, we will. Yep.
So in the magnet school enrollments, it's really nice to see the blowout of all the different places that we send our students. At the bottom, for the out-of-district placement though, they're lumped together. And that was one of the things that we talked about in our orientation that piqued my interest. And I was wondering if in future reports, we could break that down to where we're sending our out-of-district placements.
It does do that. If you take a look, we have 19 students that go to Chase and Waterbury. We have 1 that goes to Thomas Edison, 4 that go to Whitney, 2 that go to Wintergreen, 1 to Village School, etc. So you'll have the town on the left, and then you'll have the individual schools associated with that town. At the bottom is just a total. It breaks it out. He asked where they go. Are you?
I'm following along.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
And any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the finance report. Any questions on the finance report? Seeing none, we'll move into the fire drill report. Any questions on the fire drill report?
There seem to be a few blank spaces. I don't have it up on my computer, but why is there a delay for the October? There's some blanks, right?
No, there's some blanks for crisis, but.
For crisis.
But they don't.
Are they required to have the crisis? Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
And any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just had another question on the enrollment report previously. It was on the other report on that one. And we had public comment tonight. They asked about resignations and they talked about it. I had looked at this report and saw that we had 6 resignations this month, 3 of which were from the same school. And then when checking the minutes from last month's board meeting, I totaled up 21 resignations in our district, 6 from one school and 5 in another, and then the rest spread out. I was wondering if we could speak to where our retention problem lies. Is it a problem in something that we know where we're addressing? Were exit interviews given to those people who resigned so we can look at why they're leaving our district in the future?
Mr. Lawler, are you able to comment?
Yes.
Yeah, we do, we don't have a formal exit interview process, but we informally obviously know why people are leaving because of their resignation letters. But it's a mixture of things. It's people leaving for personal reasons, people leaving for other districts. It's people leaving because what they thought they were getting into really wasn't what they were getting into. So it's all over the lot. And it's not one specific issue associated with any specific school.
And would you say that this is an abnormal amount for 2 months, 21 resignations, or is this normal this time of year?
It's not normal within the school year to the level that we're experiencing. But what we're experiencing is a lot of the same with what other districts are experiencing throughout the state. And that in the situation that we're in with COVID, people are finding out that the school districts aren't someplace where they want to be for personal or other reasons.
And would you be able to say how many people, these people left due to the fact that we have mandates being imposed upon them?
Can you ask that question again?
Do you know how many of these 21 resignations were because of mandates?
Because of the testing mandate,
Testing or
Or
vaccination
mask
status or mask?
I can say there was probably 0% because of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walden. Any other questions on the reports? Seeing none, we will move into old business. Our first one is the policy revision memo.
So, Mr. Chair, you'll know, this will be at least the second meeting. We're on second reads for old business. The policy memo summarizes the information from our workshop and from the first read from the October 14th board meeting. With that, I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve BOE policy 1250, visitors and observations in schools.
Point of order.
As you recall, we have revised this policy and the associated administrative regulations to make permanent the language requiring visitors to comply with any health and safety protocols in place at the time of a visit.
Although this is the second read for the total board, this is my first read of this policy, and I would like to entertain a motion to amend policy 1250, adding the words unless exempt to the end of the change of visitors and observation.
Hold on one second.
I can read the whole thing for you if you'd like.
Yeah, where were you looking to?
So on policy 1250, that reads in blue, all visitors and observers permitted into school buildings or on grounds must comply with all school health and safety protocols in place at the time, including but not limited to any health screening protocols. And I motion to amend, adding the words unless exempt to the end.
Okay, so we do have a motion. Is there a second?
What's the motion? Is his motion?
Yes.
I had previously asked for the motion. Without those words, I
Okay. Yes, so we do have to act on the first motion.
So what do you need?
So the superintendent asked for a motion to approve BOE policy 1250, visitors and observations in schools.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Any discussion?
So I'd like to bring discussion. Being the first time that I got to see these policies, there are a couple here that I have motions to add or amend language. I think that this particular one is particularly designed in the mind to keep people safe and healthy, but can also be used to be very discriminatory and adding the words unless exempt to it would allow for people with religious or medical reasons to still be able to enter our schools.
So I don't recommend adding those words. Obviously, it's your discussion and yours. The exemption applies to employees and to students, not to visitors in our buildings. And our job is to keep students safe. Not having visitors come. The medical exemption process is very rigorous. We would require documentation for such things. Public wouldn't be having that at the ready and having us go through our nurses. This comes from our attorneys. I would encourage the board to vote as I recommended, or as we discussed in the last two meetings at the workshop and at the first read in October.
And any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the superintendent's motion?
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed?
Opposed.
And any abstentions? And that motion passes with Aaron's no duly noted. We'll then move on to BOE policy 1215R, visitors and observations in schools, administrative regulations.
Sir Chairman, on this one, I also would like to entertain a motion to amend, adding the words unless exempt to the end of the policy. Again, I believe that the policy can be used predatorily in nature to discriminate against people.
So, point of order, we don't have to vote on administrative regulations. It's the administrator's implementation of the policy for which you just voted, and we typically vote on administrative regulations with the policy. And that was my error in not saying associated regulations therewith when I made the motion previous. So I will wait and see if there's a second to Mr. McCool's motion. If not, I'm going to make a motion so first I'll wait and see.
And do we have a second? Seeing none.
Then I ask for a motion to approve the visitors and observations in schools administrative regulations as proposed and discussed at our last two meetings.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Jay and a second by Marilyn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed?
Opposed?
And any abstentions? And that motion passes, noting Aaron's objection and Alicia's abstention. We'll then move on to BOE policy 2500, retention of electronic records and information.
I'm going to ask for a motion to approve BOE policy number 2500, retention of electronic records and information, and the associated administrative regulations.
And do we have a motion?
Some, okay.
We
I'll
have,
second.
we have a motion by Ethel and a second by Jay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? And that motion passes. We'll then move on to BOE policy 2500R, retention of electronic records and information, administrative regulations.
No, we just voted.
Oh, I just did that.
That's actually not your fault. Next time we'll couple them.
Okay. So that'll move on to BOE policy 8005, number of members, terms of office.
Sir Chairman, I have a motion I move the motion that this be referred back to committee to discuss the language for how the student representatives are chosen, how long they may serve, and if the language should be added to be able to exclude them from executive sessions or other times as appropriate, included but not limited to communications, notice of meetings, and powers given to them in the other bylaws as active members, even if not voting members.
And Aaron has a motion to refer it back to the committee. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
Some of this is covered already, that to go into an executive session or anything like that, you have to be invited by this board, which they're not voting members of this board, so they can't come into it.
But they would be members of the board, according to the language that's in this policy, and then they wouldn't need an invitation based on our bylaws.
I feel like if there was clarification on their
Because I think that they're,
duties, it might be a little bit more, I'd be willing to, pass this through. I just don't really understand. There's not a lot of language, it's pretty open. Is that clear? Thank you. I appreciate that.
and then I just like to point out, I think that the student representation here is very important. But I think that the language could be stronger if we're gonna add it to our bylaws.
I will say that I'm fine if you want to bring it back to committee, just my opinion. They're your bylaws, although I do think that it says the high school student representatives shall sit on the board. It does not say that they're board members.
Okay. And then I agree with Chris, like if we send it back to committee, I'm okay with that. for clarification purposes. So then
So
we vote to, motion is to send it back to the committee.
So you need to, that was seconded?
Yep. So then, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed?
No.
Opposed.
Abstain.
And any abstentions? Jim abstains,
I'll abstain.
and Diana abstains. That motion fails.
Then, I'd like to entertain a motion to amend by striking out, in addition, the top two Naugatuck High School students represented shall sit on the board as non-voting members.
So Aaron's motion is to remove the, in addition, up to two Naugatuck High School student representatives shall sit as non-voting members. Do we have a second? Seeing none. I'll ask for a motion to approve BOE policy 8005, number of members, terms of office.
So moved.
We have a motion by Ethel. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Jay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed?
Opposed.
Any abstentions? And that motion passes, noting Aaron's objection and Alicia's abstention. We'll then move on to BOE policy 8121, official duties, chairperson. And this one is a first read.
No.
Oh,
No?
it's a vote.
They're all
Okay.
opposed.
So Chair, I was wondering if you could just clarify language for me in this one?
Right.
It says, and person such other.
So first I'll entertain a motion and then I'll answer any questions.
A motion to discuss language.
I'll make a motion to approve the 100 bylaws of the BOE.
And do we have a second?
2000, excuse me.
We have a motion and a second, and any discussion?
So I would like to not pass this until we have discussion. I had questions about the language at the top, and then I have a motion that cannot go at this time to amend line 6. But I just would like clarification on where it says board and person such other duties. Line 5.
So the one that's stricken out?
No, line 5 in blue, the chairman shall sign legal documents for the board and person such other duties as imposed upon him or her by statute. It says and person such other duties.
I believe that's supposed to say perform, correct?
Right.
Yes,
Oh, that would make a lot of sense.
yes.
So then in part of the discussion, I would say we'd have to strike down the motion to amend.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So we change that language?
Yes.
Okay.
Strike it down and then you'd have to vote.
Yep, so then, can I have a motion to, we have a motion, so. All those in favor? You want, we want to, we want.
We want to strike it down.
Yeah, we want to.
We want to amend it so the language is corrected.
So then all those in favor? And all those opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Opposed. And any abstentions? That motion fails. So then, I'd ask for a motion to amend line 5 of the policy and change person to performs.
So moved.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All, what's that?
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, so that's amended. Now, we need to have a motion to approve BOE policy 8121 official duties as amended.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes. We'll then move on to BOE policy 8123, official duties secretary. So I have a motion to approve that policy.
Motion to approve.
And a second.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes. We'll then move on to BOE policy 8126, meeting conduct.
I'd like to propose a motion to amend two different amendments for this, policy. The first amendment on page 3.5A. In this, the motion is to change the wording from not less than 48 hours to not less than 72 hours. The reason for that would be that the following statement only gives them 24 hours to ask for equipment to be participating in. And I feel like with too quick of a turnaround, we would miss making sure people who wanted to participate could participate. Giving them that extra notice that they have to then get involved would allow them to do so. The second amendment would be page 6.3.
Are you on the Shipman one?
Yeah. Page 6.3 changes our current public comment from 3 minutes to speak, or excuse me, our current comment from 5 minutes to speak to 3. So the motion is to amend page 6.3 from 3 minutes back to the original 5 minutes this board has had for time past. As we saw lots of public comment tonight, I think it's really important for us to do our job to allow the public to come comment to us and give them the time to be able to eloquently do that.
So I'm sorry, can you repeat what you were proposing on that part?
Yeah, just to amend page 6.3 from 3 minutes to speak back to 5 minutes to speak.
And what was the previous amendment?
On page 3.5 dash A point, from not less than 48 hours to not less than 72 hours, allowing an extra day for notice when we go digital and allowing people then to ask for digital equipment so that they can participate.
So
Our verbiage comes directly from the statute with the length of time, but I would not recommend deviating from what the statute requires.
Okay.
I understand that Mr. McCool is asking for more than the statute provides. But I would recommend verbatim from the statute right now that basically says, if somebody needs equipment, they can come to the school and we would set them up so they can access the virtual meeting at the school. And I would say, as we discussed in our last two meetings, when we looked at the majority of the public comments are 3 minutes. So the board, you had made the decision based on what really is prevailing, prevailing sort of throughout. In fact, that it's the belief, or at least you had communicated that people can get their point across in 3 minutes.
So then we have Aaron's motion to make those changes on those two sections. Do we have a second? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to approve BOE policy 8126, meeting conduct as presented.
And for clarification, so you know, as if you're voting on the 8126, you're incorporating 8133. So 8133 gets incorporated into the new 8126. Yep. Just so you know that J becomes irrelevant, really, because it's in this one.
Do we have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed?
Opposed.
And any abstentions? That motion passes, noting Aaron's objection. So then 8133, we don't need to. Okay. So then we will move into new business. New business starts with the 2022 board meeting schedule. Do Do we have to approve? We do.
Standards, there's no deviation.
Yep. So as you'll see from the schedule listed, there is no deviation. Our meetings are the second Thursday of the month. And it just lists the dates for 2022. And I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the 2022 board meeting schedule.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? And any abstentions? We'll then move on to a donation to Naugatuck High School. Ms. Riss.
Okay, okay, in accordance with BOE policy 3280, I present the following donation received by Naugatuck School District. Ion Bank would like to donate $1,400 to Naugatuck High School for the purchase of a track record sign. May I have a motion to accept the donation?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Please say thank you for us.
Pardon?
Please send a thank you for us.
Yeah, no problem.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? Thank you, and like Mr. McCool said, we do thank Ion Bank for their generosity.
Thank you.
And then we'll move on to the next donation.
Okay, in accordance with BOE policy 3280, I present the following donation received by the Naugatuck School District. An anonymous donor from the class of 1963 would like to donate $1,000 to be used in the Naugatuck High School Media Center. May I have a motion to accept the donation?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Second. And a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? And any abstentions? That motion passes, and whoever that anonymous donor is, we thank you very much. We'll then move on to oil, diesel, and unleaded gas purchases.
Okay. Everybody's favorite topic. Okay, as you may all know, and just to bring our two new board members up to speed, annually, we enter into an agreement to purchase oil and diesel fuel at a fixed rate. We do so historically through a consortium that is run by Ed Aram, who is a longtime business manager, and it encompasses multiple school districts. This year, Mr. Aram is retiring and disbanding the consortium. So we are left to make another decision and to try to decide what else to do. So I bring to you a couple of choices, looking for the direction you would like me to take this, this bid. So we have a couple of options. Now this is for oil and diesel purchasing only. The oil for our schools and the diesel used for our buses. We can join with the borough in purchasing directly from East River. East River is on the state contract, so we can purchase directly from them. Bob Butler has been given the approval from the Board of Burgesses to accept the following two prices or lower for oil and diesel. So that would be at oil, his approval is to either accept $2.58 or lower, and for diesel, it would be $2.60 or lower. He is currently watching the prices. The gentleman at East River is anticipating them to go down. So he's sort of in a holding pattern. Right now, they've gone up from those prices. So he's sort of in a holding pattern to make the commitment for the borough. So we can do that. We can just partner with Mr. Butler, tell him how many gallons that we need, and when he purchases them, he will commit for the Board of Ed as well. Just so everyone understands that that's an unfavorable variance to our budget. So once we do our budget for oil, it'll be a $28,000 increase, and for the diesel, it'll be a $57,000 increase. Okay, so that's option one. Option two, we did go out and try to get a couple other quotes on our own. Santa Energy would only commit to a price through November 2022, so that's not gonna help us out. We're looking for something to carry us through June 30th, 2022. I'm sorry, June 30th, 2023. Dime Oil did give us the following two quotes for oil, $2.59 a gallon, and for diesel, $2.61 a gallon. Very close to East River. And then we have another option. We could go out to bid with the Capital Region Council of Governments, which has an acronym. It's CRCOG, just for those of you who keep up with those. They go out to bid in January, so they'll go out in 2022. The bid opening is scheduled for February 24th, 2022, and then we'll find out who the winner is. Last time they went out to bid, the winner was Dime Oil. So that organization, if we go out to bid with them, we are not committed to purchasing those gallons. So we can go out to bid with them, and if something else comes up better for us sometime before February, we can go with somebody else. There is no commitment. The only other thing, the unleaded gas, we piggyback with the borough no matter what. We don't have our own unleaded gas tanks. The borough does. They're at the police department. So we go along with whatever the borough purchases. And what happens is our vans or some of the school buses that use unleaded, they go down to the police department, they fill up, they have a certain code, so we get billed based on the number of gallons we actually use. So right now, Mr. Butler is looking at $2.44 a gallon. That would give us an unfavorable variance of $10,395. But we don't bid on our own for that. We piggyback with the borough. So at this moment, I'd like to ask if the board has a motion on directing us how to go about purchasing oil and diesel.
All right, you said with Dime Oil, we lock in the price.
Dime Oil did quote us on November 5th. I'm hoping they will keep that price, and it was, yes, $2.59 a gallon for oil and $2.61 a gallon for diesel.
And we don't have to buy everything that we ordered, right?
I'm sorry?
Were you saying that we didn't have to buy everything that was ordered? We didn't have to give them the guarantee?
Correct. If we go out to bid with the Capital Region Council of Governments, we can go out to bid, and if something better comes along, if the price drops, or we don't have to, we're not committed. Some other consortiums, once you go out to bid, you're committed to purchase that quantity. The only,
So Mrs. Risk, you're saying that Dime Oil is giving us that price point, no matter how many gallons we buy?
correct. Well, we asked for 35,000 gallons for oil and 70,000 gallons for diesel.
I know, but what I'm trying to be clear on is if we buy 100 gallons and then we go to bid and switch, that's fine?
No, that price was for these amount of gallons.
So I think that's what.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. No, this price is, we gave them the number of gallons we wanted to purchase.
So we're committing to that.
Yeah.
Or going to bid.
Or going to bid. My apologies,
And you also mentioned, Reese, just to clarify, you're saying East River, the numbers that you're showing us here, they're actually currently higher than that right now?
They are. So those numbers up there for East River, that is what Mr. Butler got permission to either settle for those numbers or below. So he is currently watching the market and waiting for them to go below that dollar amount, so that way he can commit.
Well, and with our,
Bernice, I didn't hear the beginning, but on the borough end, with East River, the way I understand it, we're locked into 5, but if the price goes down, we take advantage of the lower price. So last year, we did extremely well with that arrangement. And I do know that the first day after the borough locked in, the price went down 6 cents a gallon. Now, I don't know what's happened since then or today, or I haven't followed the world markets, but the way it worked with East River and our consortium last year was excellent. And I know it's better now than what we locked in at. But I didn't hear about the other two options, but I know the East River was the borough's choice.
My only concern with not locking in is I don't have any faith that the prices are coming down this year, that this year we are going to see an increase.
I mean, they follow the trends of the utility companies just announced to everybody that they're doing a 21% increase just in Eversource territory, so, you know, they're gonna follow suit, that's what typically happens, so I agree with Aaron.
Reese, are these the numbers the borough locked in at, or are the numbers we got? Because when we made our commitment, the numbers went down, and I don't know if we locked in, but I know we're locking in at a lower number than what we had when we started.
So I spoke with Mr. Butler today. What
Okay.
he told me was these were the numbers that the Borough Board of Burgesses said he can lock in at these numbers or lower. He has
Okay.
currently not locked in because the prices have increased since that time period. So he is waiting to hear from East River when they go down.
With that knowledge, I feel like Dime Oil becomes our better option. Because we can lock in today at a lower price.
But but does Dime Oil give us any type of guarantee like East River does? In terms of like if the price goes down, we get to take advantage of the lower price?
No.
Is East River giving us a guarantee if the price goes down when you go down? Even if we lock in?
I am not aware of any guarantee that if the price goes down, the way East River, in my experience, the way East River works is that when you commit at this price, you then get a bill at the beginning of the fiscal year for your entire allotment, and you pay that bill.
I wish Bob was here. All I know is that when the borough board voted on it, we had the ability to lock in at a lower price if it became available. And the next day, it was 6 cents lower. Now, if you didn't lock in and it went up after that, I don't know.
Is this something that we have to vote on tonight, or could we get clarification from Mr. Butler?
So we do not have to vote, oh, I'm sorry.
Want me to call?
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah, right.
While doing that, what would be your timetable that you need us to make a decision by?
So currently, we are good until August 2022.
Okay.
The concern is that if
Prices.
Mr. Butler makes that commitment, he has offered to make it for us as well, but I need your approval on which way to go.
Please, what do you mean we're good till August 2022?
Pardon?
What do you mean, August
Hey,
2022?
Bob, I'm at the board of ed meeting.
That's the
And they're
term
talking
of
about the East River.
our current agreement.
No, the oil. So.
Is that
It's
We
my.
can lock in. Numbers a little lower. Right, so what would be your recommendation for the board of ed? They have other quotes. I'm gonna put the speaker on, Bob, okay?
There you go.
I want you to explain it, I'll put the speaker on. All right, go ahead.
Talk, Bob.
Bob? All right, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'm talking off my watch right now. I'm trying to get to the phone. Sorry. By locking in the price We don't get any benefit through the additional number of gallons we purchase. We're just locking in to set the price for the set period of time. The basic becomes the fact that given that we have the locked in price, we'll know what our expenses are rather than be at the will of the speculators, et cetera, to the policies, et cetera, that are literally being stated and forecasted for the next 3 years under the current administration. But by locking in, we get the benefit of knowing what we're going to pay and not have to run on the speculation side.
Right, but if the price goes down, can we lock in at the lower price?
Once we lock in, we're locked in at that price.
Yeah, but are we locked,
Literally buying a futures contract.
is the borough locked in right now?
No, we're not.
Right, okay.
Okay, we did set that to go to to use gas as an example. Gasoline, we did set the price at $2.44 or $5, I believe it is, or below. The forecast was for it to go down this week. However, it did go up before that when the speculation was this past weekend that a additional pipeline would be closed. Today, or yesterday, when it was announced that the White House would not be closing that pipeline, the price did start falling again today. It was down 3% when I hadn't checked this afternoon, but it wasn't down enough to get us any additional savings and fall below the price we set.
Right, so do you have, do you have a recommendation? Have you seen the other options the Board of Ed obtained?
I know that Bernice had done some other the options, et cetera, and I don't believe when we spoke today that anything was significantly lower.
All right. Okay, so Bernice, I wasn't here, did you make a recommendation?
Well, my question was, we really have two options. We can either collaborate with the borough, give Mr. Butler the number of gallons we want and purchase the oil and diesel as the borough does, or we can just wait, see what happens. I did find another consortium that goes out to bid in January, and the bid opening is at the end of February, so we can collaborate with them, but we won't know what the price is. So I asked for some direction.
So again, you said at the beginning that the prices here that it says for joining with the borough are no longer accurate, that the prices are higher than that?
Correct. When Mr. Butler went to the Burgesses, that was what they told him, he must come in at that price or lower. So they gave him the approval to go ahead and do it, but he's got to wait.
But he has to wait till it drops.
He's got to wait until
Or
at
they-
least that price or lower.
Or they may have to purchase at a higher rate and pre-approve in their
Correct.
own.
That's what Mr. Butler told.
So do we want to try and save them as much money as we can now, or just let them decide what the price is, knowing that they have to help out? If we don't meet our budget, they're the ones who pay it and help us out anyway.
Yeah, we're not gonna go down that road.
They're not talking about significant amount of money, though.
Mr. McCool, but yes, I know.
Okay. So, yes, this is a tough call, folks. You know, is there any thoughts or anything on going with the bid? How is it looking out there? If these people are already giving us what we're looking at, a pretty significant variance here, is there any thoughts or hope that it's better out somewhere out there?
Everything I've heard is that it's only going to get worse.
Yep.
But unfortunately, we never really know.
Right.
And February 2022 is so far away, it's hard. I don't want us to miss the opportunity to settle with Mr. Butler and the borough and at least lock into that price.
Mrs. Risk, what is the Capital Regional Council of Government? Do you know how many municipalities, boards of education groups joined them last year? How big are they?
They're pretty big. They're in the Hartford area.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how many, but they are not quantity driven.
Oh, they're not?
Just like East River is not, East River is, actually East River and United Oil are on the state contract. So East River is not quantity driven either. The borough will get that price whether we are with them or not. But when you commit, you have to commit to a number of gallons.
So there is no power in a consortium?
No,
In
except
that
that
particular
somebody
consortium.
else, correct, except that somebody else is doing the going out to bid and watching the prices and.
So we don't know what's gonna happen in the future. The borough has the opportunity for this pricing. If it goes lower, we can get the lower price. If it doesn't, we stay here. We did it this way because we wanna know what our budget is. We don't want any surprises or higher numbers because we don't know what's gonna happen. So we did it last year the same way. It worked out well. It worked out much better than the Board of Ed's numbers. I'm leaning towards East River unless you can recommend something that's better. If there's something better, I'm all for it, but I think there's safety in East River.
At this time, I have not found anything better.
And so the only caveat that is that this price on front of us is not the East River price today, and the borough is not locked in at this price now. They're approved to lock in at this price if it drops back down to it. And if it never drops back down to this price, we miss an opportunity to take Dime Oil at only a penny more.
The borough didn't, but the Board of Ed has to take things the way they are today. So it's slightly different, but it's very similar.
Okay, so then,
We locked in last Tuesday.
Bob said you locked in to the point where he had a high and low to go.
Right. We have a high,
If it was low, if the price was higher the next day than the high you guys voted on, he couldn't buy it until it dropped below that. So he didn't buy it yet.
we have the ability to get guaranteed this much oil at a certain price. Now, we can lock into a lower price, but if it's not gonna go lower, we'll stay where we are.
Yeah, but Bob said he didn't do that.
Well, he did. The borough did. I don't know what Bob did. We voted last week to go with the consortium at whatever pricing we got. And if it goes lower, we get a lower price.
That's what I mean by not locked in.
But that's not what he explained to us right now.
Well, what's the borough's price right now?
No.
So what is it today?
Today it was I want to say 50 something, but I'm not, I don't remember exactly.
Well, you're watching it every day, right?
Yes, we're talking to them every day.
Okay. So what's your plan? How are you looking at this?
We're looking at it to see if it's trending down, and it is trending down again. But again, we're going also on East River's recommendation on what they are seeing in the futures market too. So we're following their recommendations on where it's going. They told us last week that they expected the price to go down this week. However, the speculation on the closure of the pipeline this past weekend by the administration with Canada had thrown a monkey wrench into that and actually set the prices higher. So, now that the administration has indicated that they're not going to shut down the pipeline from Canada into Michigan, that the prices start falling
So are we aware of anything that's as good as East River?
No.
Are you familiar with Dime Oil?
Yes, the Dime did, bid, again, East River is the largest, supplier in the state of Connecticut, and they have the trucks to do the, delivery and everything. One of the issues that when the consortium went out to bid 5 years ago was that, there were only 2 bidders that had enough trucks to actually deliver to all the districts within the consortium, and that was the one that begins with an S and East River. I can't remember the name. I know Bernice, you said it this afternoon.
Santa? Is it Santa?
Fanta?
Santa, yes. Sorry, I should remember Santa.
It's not gonna be good to you.
So, but that's why the consortium had stayed 5 years ago with East River.
Okay, any questions for Bob?
Bob, how long are you gonna wait before you lock in a rate?
We're gonna look for to just follow the trends, and if we start seeing any indication that the trend would start going down, like all of a sudden, let's say Saudi Arabia starts dumping oil or something. Last week, the impetus to drop the price of oil was the fact that the Chinese had been issuing oil out of their strategic reserve, but at the same time, they were also buying oil up. The weekend before, they had stopped buying oil to replace the strategic reserve. Therefore, that started the price of oil start falling last week. So it really is a number of factors out there. What one country does could affect the price one way or another. If all of a sudden the president decided to release oil out of the strategic reserve, it could cause the price to drop significantly. So whatever the trend is that creates that is what we're trying to follow.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, so then I would ask for a motion to join with the borough in purchasing from East River at the prices listed in the memo or lower.
I got one more question before we go that far.
Okay.
We're buying oil for 2022 to 2023, right?
Correct. The term is a little different than the fiscal year. Our current contract was from September 2021 through August 31st, 2022. So this new contract would be for September 2022 through August 2023.
So basically, we have 9 months
We do.
to make a decision.
We do.
We do.
We do, but we.
I know we don't want to.
So to that point though, if it's gonna get better, it's not gonna get better in winter. So if we're gonna make a decision.
You'd be surprised. 2 years ago, in the middle of winter, the price dropped 30 cents. So, but, I don't want to put us out the hang. Dime Oil, we gave them amount that we would like to buy.
I did.
Did they say how much we had to buy to keep that price? Or we had to take the whole thing?
They did not. I specifically went out and said, this is how many gallons, what would my price be?
And you said they weren't quantity driven anyway, correct?
Correct. So both Giant and East River have the state contract. So that's why they're so similar. Both those quotes were from Friday.
Because could we like take time for a shorter period of time? And not a full contract?
No, I think what they're offering is based on us
No,
getting.
About the volume, but these are basically what we're getting is retail prices, especially on the gas. And the oil.
Now, like I said, our unleaded gas, we go with the borough.
Yeah.
Diesel. Yeah. because we don't
Yeah,
our
we have
own
no
tank.
choice there.
We don't have our own
But,
And we don't purchase a set amount of gallons, we just purchase exactly what we use.
but you said that was $2.53 a gallon right now, or something.
244.
It's well, the price that is Butler got was $2.44.
Yeah, and
I don't know what it is right now.
at the gas stations, it's $2.31 up to $2.61.
We budget for 19,000 gallons, it's usually what we use, but we only pay the borough for what we use. We
Right.
don't-
Bernice, do you have a recommendation or any thoughts on what year you might think?
So you're talking to a conservative accountant here. So, I would probably say that I recommend to go with East River and partner with the borough only because it's a known factor. And it's going to be difficult to set our budget for next year without knowing those numbers. At least if we know that this is where we are, then, we can react.
Do you know how long Dime Oil's quote is good for?
I do not, they did not give me I don't know, we did tell them that I had to wait for board approval. So I would hope that they would hold it for a while.
And to Mr. Butler's point, do you know if they have the infrastructure and trucks to be able to service?
Dime Oil was the winner of the Capital Region Council of Governments bid. So I would,
So you're thinking yes.
I would guess that they do.
And they're not climate driven.
And
Also,
it's-
go ahead.
No, no.
If you lock in with the borough, are you still able to go out to bid with the Capital Region Council of Governments?
No, because once we lock in with the borough, we have to purchase those gallons.
And is the reason that we're not trying to go out to that bid, is that because of the budget, because we're trying to set the budget? Is that one of the reasons?
Well, what usually happens around this time is that consortium that I had spoken about earlier starts going out to bid. And we are included with them, the borough is included with them, that's how we got our oil and gas this current year.
Right.
We're partnered in with the borough, we've done that, I think there was only one time where we found an option that was a little different. But now this has disbanded. So we're just trying to see which direction to go.
What is the past trend for going out with the Capital Region Council of Governments? Like, do we have a past trend at all to kind of go with as far as what pricing is concerned over there?
Their pricing this current year that we're in was a little higher than the pricing that we locked in at.
Okay.
I believe that it's the timing, what we did last year, because we do it so early in the year, we had a decent price, and then they did it later. It was
Right,
just
because
timing.
it's
It's just a different cycle.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. You got any clarification? Jim, what else?
That's it. Bob's gonna hold off anyways for a couple of days.
So we give him the shot of going out and locking in a lower price. We give him that
Right.
opportunity.
So whenever they do, but in the meantime, I think we should still be out there hunting ourselves.
So if we say though, that we're only locking in this price and the borough locks in higher, they won't have approval to add our numbers to it and they'll have to come back
Yeah,
to
right
us.
now. They gotta go back to the borough board and get an increase of the amount.
That's
I mean, I'm comfortable
We
with
could do
that
the
for a
same.
month.
Okay, so then, I'll ask for a motion to join with the borough in purchasing from East River at the prices listed below or lower.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing nothing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions?
I just did this to make that work.
Great.
Thank you, Bernice.
Yes, thank you, Bernice.
Good job, good job.
We'll then move on to approval of minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting? Do we have a second?
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? We'll then move into communications. First communication is the CABE conference. There's a new board member leadership workshop on December 8th at the Sheraton Hotel in Rocky Hill. If anyone has questions, you could reach out to Superintendent Martini.
So if I may, just so what typically with K workshops would be, you would send an email to Mrs. Santana, and then if you wanted to go, she would register you and take care of that.
Then we'll move into board communications. My two pieces of communication are if board members could send me an email or send Mrs. Santana an email with the committees that you would like to be a member of. We have the policy committee, the finance committee, the facilities committee, and the curriculum committee. And if you could also include in your email the school and/or schools that you would like to serve as a liaison to. And if you could do that as soon as possible, that way I could get the information together and we send a appointed next meeting.
Do you have a
Yes.
suggestion or a limit on amount of committees you'd like to see a board member on, or an amount of schools you'd like to see us liaison to?
So in terms of committees,
Because you can't have quorum.
yeah, we just can't have a quorum. So it all depends what people are interested in. If I'm able to put you on all of them, you can go on all of them. As long as there's no quorum.
Right, so
So-
they keep a committee at 4 on there.
Yeah, so, and then schools, it's kind of what your schedule allows you to. If you're going to be active with your schools, and you're gonna go to all their events, if you try to do every school, it might be a little cumbersome. But especially because some schools are way more active than others.
Sure.
So,
We usually select about two
yeah,
members
usually.
per school to represent.
yeah, it's usually about two.
So we all and then those board members then come here and then they speak on what that school needs or what they've experienced at that school.
Or what they're doing.
Yep.
I can get communicate.
Okay, and then looks like Ethel has some communications.
This is, I can't pronounce it. Community communication. Tomorrow, Thursday, is the Veterans Day ceremony on the green at 2:00. This is our opportunity to show appreciation for what our veterans have done for us and let them know that we do appreciate it. So that'll be on the green. And also the Naugatuck United Methodist Church on Sunday afternoon, probably about 4:00, will have a virtual celebration and appreciation for veterans with some of our community speakers. The mayor will be one of our speakers, and John DeBishop, Colonel Roper, and I forgot the others, but there'll be a number of them. Plus there'll be some singing. And you can tune in on our church website, it's Naugatuck United Methodist Church, and the Facebook. This is an annual event that we do every year. Usually it's in person with the service and luncheon, but with COVID, we've been doing it virtual. It's really a great program, so you've got tomorrow, 2 o'clock, and then Sunday on Facebook in the afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. And
Oh, sorry, yes.
I just wanted to take this opportunity, while we can take a moment, to acknowledge that we heard from several parents today, and one of the top topics that they brought up is safety, and if you guys could, put something in the agenda for next month that we can look at their concerns closely. I think it's important that we hear and answer the parents' concerns when they bring them to us. And then the other one that I would like to talk about next month, if we can add to the agenda, would be what I also see. I'd like to talk about the policy for how we are discriminating or segregating difference in vaccination status for children in our schools, and the policies, the thing, I would love to just put that up for discussion. Next session, thank you.
thank you. Any other board communications? Seeing none, we'll move into our bid waiver. We don't have to vote on the bid waiver, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I always forget that one. Any questions on the bid waiver?
Yeah, I have one. That's for the annual inspections?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Need a motion to accept?
Okay, that brings us to adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn? And a second. And a
You're
second.
new.
Any discussion?
You can't be tired.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 9:00.
Thank you.